Over 4,000 makers, modders, and mad scientists invaded my home turf of Colorado for the 2024 Rocky Mountain RepRap Fest, over 2 weeks ago. By now, you've already seen the homebrew electric discharge machining, bootleg Lamborghini, and the flying gantry printer that's so flying, the gantry is literally a quadcopter. Gimmick projects get stale, but your projects are timeless. I cut through the hype and scoured RMRRF for hidden gems that you can print yourself right now. I'm talking tools that transform lives, the jankiest printer I've ever touched, and mesmerizing mechanisms that push the possibilities of the potential of pure printing. I'm Zack Freedman, and these are my favorite DIY projects from RMRRF 2024. Welcome to Colorado, home of the Rocky Mountain RepRap Fest and the one and only Void Star Lab. Ladies, gentlemen, and cyborgs, this is a Nerf blaster with a twist. You twist the handle to prime it. It's a pun. Well, here's the twistier twist. Apart from the darts and some bungee cords, this entire blaster is 100% printed. Let's pull the trigger on this funky foam flinger after we shill today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. I can't wait. What do programming, physics, and data science look like? Scribbles on whiteboards, pages of code? They shouldn't. These equations describe real things that happen in real life. That's why Brilliant's courses are packed with interactive demos that blend theory and reality, so you build intuitions about how real phenomena work and then crunch the numbers to learn how to mess with them. As you dive deeper, Brilliant actually adapts to your learning style and presents multiple ways to approach each problem till you find one that finally clicks. That means less frustration, more light bulb moments, and better real-world learning that prepares you to bring your new skills into your next project. Whether you're looking for an edge at work, building skills for a side project, or just plain curious, Brilliant's giant collection of thoughtful interactive content is yours to explore at your own pace. Visit brilliant.org/ZackFreedman to get your first month free and get 20% off their already quite affordable annual subscription. Dive into electronics, astrophysics, whatever fires you up at brilliant.org/ZackFreedman. Thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this episode, and now let's talk about RMRRF's loudest sponsor. Polybaker was everywhere. They sponsored a 3D printed drag race, a 3D printed destruction derby, even a 3D printed Nerf blaster shooting gallery. Now, I love 3D printed blasters. I'm literally made of 3D printed Nerf blasters because I printed some in chocolate and I ate them. Wait, that episode hasn't come out yet. But Polymaker's DIY shooting gallery had some wildly weird blasters that showcase their filaments in a truly clever way. This is the Maraca by Lidl Dynamics, and you prime it like a lever action, except you work the entire grip. Or you hold the grip steady and you flap around the rest of the blaster. No matter which way you sling that thing, it feels super satisfying, it looks supremely cool, and unlike every other blaster in my arsenal, it doesn't need a parts kit. That's right, the Maraca is oops all filament. It's held together with dowels, clevis pins, retaining rings, all 3D printed, no McMaster order, no waiting for shipping. This is a paid model, which I normally don't feature, but I made an exception, because if you've got some elastic shot cord, few darts, and a reel of literally any rigid filament, you already have everything you need to build this blaster. I went even further and found an all-filament magazine. The simple Talon Mag by Quart Zero has its own printable spring, and you can even sub out the screws for some welded filament. Up top is the adjustable blaster optic by T-Man, and it is sure enough adjustable on elevation and windage. All you need is more PLA and some dental floss to form the crosshairs. Even the little bar that keeps it on the Picatinny rail is 3D printed. The secret sauce is the Maraca is a stringer, not a springer. Instead of using high-pressure air in a high-powered spring, it physically flicks the darts out the barrel like a medieval crossbow. That also makes it weaker than most 3D printed homemades, but it's the perfect power for plinking paper paraphernalia without possibly punching pockmarks in the plaster. It also looks fucking magical in Cookie Cad's new Fairy Floss filament. If you like any of the stuff you see, I've linked all the filaments and all the models in the description, and I indicated which filaments like these I was given for free. Sorry, Polymaker, you ended up promoting the competition. So what if your wimpy T-Rex noodle arms are too feeble to shake your Maraca? Cookie Cad's got you covered with a model so intensely goofy, it wraps back around to being smart, and I'm genuinely angry I didn't think of it first. This is a real workout. Nathan the Cookie Cad guy personally designed this dumbass dumbbell that transforms spools of filament into cartoonishly huge gym weights, so you can get cartoonishly swole. This was meant as a photo op for Cookie Cad's booth, so the tines are obviously sized to lock into Cookie Cad's real central turny hole spoke things, technical term. If you haven't yet pledged loyalty to the Cookie Clan, it will also fit Inkermake, Ninja Tech, and many more, like this ancient MakerBot ABS I got at Polar Filament Story Swap Meet. I dumped the revolting remnants of my Cursed Filaments episode and grabbed some shit so shitty they rounded it up to 1.8 millimeters. MakerBot, not Cookie Cad. Cookie Cad's got that shit lock. Also, you can screw more filament holders onto the filament holders, so place your bets, people. Which is going to give out first, my bicep or the handle? You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. That was a stupid waste of time and filament, so let's devote our limited resources to a more sensible end. Putting Pez dispensers on your Gridfinity. I was just f***ing with you, next one's even stupider. Pezfinity was created by Twitch streamer Pez Liz, who also designed and gave me this Pez tiara. She likes Pez, alright? In my mind-blowing Prince episode, I built a candy gat that used these things as magazines, but that left me with 9 spare My Little Pony Pez dispensers, and I was gonna throw them out. But now they're on a 42mm grid, and I consider anything on a 42mm grid to be sacred. It's my regridgen. I'm having trouble coming up with a better name than Gridfinitarianism, so please leave your ecclesiastical suggestions in the comments. So yeah, if you got some Pez dispensers and some Gridfinity and you want to put the Pez dispensers on the Gridfinity, Pez Liz got you covered with Pezfinity. You can't have the tiara though. As far as I know, she never shared it. Heavy is the head that wears the Pez crown. Shh. Did we lose those party poopers who keep nagging me to stop printing idiotic crap and do something useful? Because I got a reputation to uphold, and our next print is going to change the world, and it's based as fuck. This is fellow YouTuber 3D Printy, and I've featured at least one of his well-designed maker-friendly models in pretty much every printable project roundup. But the one he put front and center on his RMRRF booth was something truly special. If you have trouble seeing, the 3x2 grid of raised dots called Braille lets your fingers do the reading. But Braille handwriting has to be painstakingly embossed dot by dot with a pointy stick on a special slate, backwards and upside down. Those are not ideal learning conditions. So everyone who learns Braille needs a special device like this one. Each of these dots manually clicks in and out, so new readers and writers can practice without having to lug around a clunky typewriter or mess around with a backwards pokey stick. It's also like $1,000, and that is a truly eye-popping price, or if you really need it, a finger-popping price. 3D Printy's Braille training cell does the exact same thing, possibly better, for like 70 cents of filament. What truly rules about this project, apart from, you know, letting blind children learn to read if they don't happen to have $1,000 lying around, 3D Printy's version is like the greatest fidget toy ever developed. These dots crisply snap to attention and press down flush, and they stay put even under the most aggressive reading. I have never put those words together before. The mechanism that gives these such a smooth, satisfying click is nothing. This frame is a single solid chunk of semi-flexible TPU, and the dots might look like delicious orange Tic Tacs, but they're just PLA pegs. The trick is this little ridge in each hole. It catches notches on the peg, which snaps it into one of two positions and prevents a forceful writer from like popping it all the way through. Mr. Printy, if that is his real name, originally designed this complex leaf spring buckling doohickey, but once an actual Braille user got their hands on it, it turned out to be useless. This is Reese on the channel Filament Stories, and she'll be the first to tell you, if you want to solve someone's problem, put them in the design process. She immediately recognized depressing a dot took way too much force, and if you're a kid doing the Braille equivalent of writing your name 100 times, that finger fatigue is going to add up. As Reese and Printy refined the design, Reese's mom Courtney hunted down the perfect material, 92A TPU. It's still a rigid material, but it's also quite flexible. The perfect balance between tactile feedback and finger crossfit. Just be careful. If you fidget too much and you leave this thing lying around, you may unwittingly teach a vision-impaired child some filthy cussin', and then they'll have to wash their hands with soap. 3D Printy released the Braille training cell as straight-up public domain. That means you can do literally anything you want with it. Make it, mod it, sell it, claim you invented it, print it in chocolate, no permission, no cost, no nothing, forever. This accessibility device will always remain accessible. Kind of a shitty accessibility device if it's inaccessible, isn't it?
Insulin.
But no matter how many eyes you're currently using and how well they currently work, feast them on this. This incredible signage is 100% 3D printed, or 300% D-printed. That is the quality rating you get in every episode of Void Star Lab. Like, comment, subscribe. Joel the 3D printing nerd and his posse built one of those carnival strength testers, like where you hit the thing with a hammer and see how strong you are. I never got a chance, because somebody destroyed the strength tester by hitting it with a hammer. But we're not talking about the game. We're talking about the scoreboard. These eye-shreddingly garish nameplates were generated in HueForge, a piece of software that renders full-color pictures into 3D printable full-color pictures. This is a paid program, but to their credit, it's just a one-time fee, no bullshit subscriptions, and it is a lot more advanced than ye old lithophane generator. HueForge actually blends the filament's colors by stacking layers so thin they act like filters. But if you want to get the best results, it needs accurate measurements of color and transmissivity, or how far light can penetrate before it gets completely blocked. Neither value is easy to measure, so getting prints this juicy takes some guesswork. Till now. Because of this, the next thing that we're going to be talking about on this episode, where we look at cool things that you can make, and you can make this thing that we're going to be talking about in this section. Right now, this is it, this is the thing, the TD1 by Ajax 3D. This is a filament color analyzer so thoughtfully conceived and so seamlessly executed, I don't have anything to criticize about it. I am completely unmoored from the world I thought I knew, adrift in a foggy sea of uncertainty. Hold me. This little guy was given to me pre-assembled by Ajax 3D himself, but the whole thing is open source, the bill of materials is just commodity parts, the instructions are well written, they're fully illustrated, and most importantly, they are not a video. I cannot stand when the instructions are only a video. You don't need any drivers or setup or anything. You just start up HueForge, plug in the TD1, and insert filament into the filament insertion hole. A dialog box automatically pops up, pre-populated with color and transmissivity, so you just type in the make and model, hit OK, and shove in the next one. It only took me like 15 minutes to capture every single PLA in my closet. Unfortunately, I didn't really have enough colors to get great results. Like, I have a lot of different filaments, but they're all different filaments. I've shown nearly 150 of them in my Every Single Filament series, and since the last installment, I've snagged over 100 more. I just keep finding new ones, and that episode just keeps growing faster than I can write it, and I am starting to get more than a little bit worried. Point is, I have an anxiety problem, and I also have a lot of filaments. I'm pretty sure I have the most anxiety, but I certainly do not have the most filaments. Tucked in the furthest corner of RMRRF, I met the man who does, the major domo of filamentcolors.xyz, the self-proclaimed Filament Librarian. Oh, also, I forgot to finish that last part. If you haven't used HueForge, you should really download it because it rules. This living legend has set out to catalog every filament in every color, in every meaning of the word every. Armed with self-made hardware, software, and a server backend, he's indexed over 1,300 swatches with another 300 in the inbox. The librarian's database includes things like Pantone color matching, filament substitutes, and because it's all fuzzy searchable, it's really easy to find what you're looking for. As I shoved filament after filament into the TD1, I decided to print two birds with one stone-filled PLA. I decided to send the Filament Librarian every single filament from every single filament video. So if you find a hole in the librarian's extensive database, you can make a donation. Just snap off a couple meters, shove it in a Ziploc bag, and print one of his standard labels in 2 dimensions. The total dimensions in Void Star Lab are no longer divisible by 3, and that really bothers me for some reason. The Filament Librarian can even pick up the postage. I sent him a $169 Ko-fi to replenish the shipping fund. All the links are in the description, and if you'd like to print the same swatches for yourself, I linked those too. But please do not send printed swatches to El Bibliotecario de Filamentos. In order to keep everything consistent, he has to print all the swatches himself. So I actually failed in this mission. I barely managed to pack 100 new filaments before I ran the entire house out of Ziploc baggies. The project after our next project is the final project, but we need the next project to make the final project funny. So next is a specialized measuring instrument for visually documenting objects of unusual and/or ambiguous dimensional magnitude. As its operation is familiar to specialists and laypeople alike, this tool constitutes a convenient yet broadly accessible reference to establish the scale of a juxtaposed item. That said, any metrologist worth their micrometer will decry its lack of precision, its tragically short service life, and the significant slipping hazard posed by its enclosure. Perhaps most damning, its fabrication requires such significant resources, it's led to the establishment and exploitation of entire republics. Well, no more. This is the Imperial Scaling Banana by SMC. It is a dimensionally accurate reproduction which adds major and minor graduations and can be implemented on nearly any consumer-grade additive manufacturing device. To eliminate wasteful support material, I borrowed a technique from the frozen dessert sector and bisected the instrument lengthwise. Those with access to a multi-material printer can even paint the marks a contrasting color for maximum legibility and verisimilitude. I went to a show with Voron's first CNC, a robot arm playing tug-of-war, and a collapsible sub-miniature printer with an inverted glass build plate heated by coils of crystal clear indium tin oxide, and I chose to feature the plastic banana. What can I say? This kind of thing appeals to me. Was that side splitting? Because I got a bunch of these. Ripe then, it's plain tane to see I've slipped off script and made a potassi of myself. Enough monkeying around. Our final project from the second Rocky Mountain RepRap Fest is an entire printer. I will now deploy the banana, revealing this printer to be a cutie patootie. This is the BabyBelt Pro by Rob Mink, and I did not get very much on-site footage of it. This short king was thoroughly overshadowed by machines much larger, flashier, and pricier, and I think that's a shame. Belt printers are still a rarity in 2024, yet Rob has single-handedly designed one so affordable and so easy to build. Even I made one. If you've been in this hobby for a while, you probably have most of the parts needed to build one already. Like the hot end is just a Revo or bamboo heater, the extruder is anything that bolts onto an EMA 17, and the heated bed is optional. Anything you can't salvage, you can find on Amazon. You can print this whole frame in PLA in less than a day with barely any supports. Belt printers might look wacky, but they're basically old school fixed gantry machines like the Replicator 2. The X-axis carries the Y-axis, which carries the extruder, and the build surface advances when each layer is done. A belt printer just tilts the gantry 45 degrees to let it run the bed sideways instead of lifting and lowering. This has all kinds of weird implications. It doesn't need any lead screws, there's only a single axis to level, and it can print models of any length as long as there's something to prop up the workpiece once it becomes longer than the printer itself. The Z-axis never needs calibration at all because it's a loop of fabric with unicorns on it. The BabyBelt prints PLA directly onto cotton. It's like the same technique we used to make a t-shirt in my Cursed Prints episode, except it's actually, useful. Things developed for stupid purposes can be used for smart purposes. Imagine that. The trick is there's an extra long heat-activated iron-on patch applied to the wrong side of the fabric. This gives the roller something to grip, it limits how far molten filament can penetrate into the fibers, and it joins the fabric end-to-end with no lumpy stitches to mar the bottom surface. When the job's done, you just run the belt till this ramp scrapes the print free. Since it can fully reset itself, a belt printer can autonomously crank out job after job till it runs out of filament. Theoretically. The difference between theory and practice is greater in practice than in theory, and in practice, I could never really get my BBP, which I named the Squirtzer's Apprentice, to finish a very accurate print. The X-axis was just a little bit off and it would occasionally skip steps and shift layers. I even cranked the current and piled on some heat sinks, but it still had this issue. Leave a comment if you know which video this heatsink originally appeared in. You won't. The BabyBelt's creator, Rob, was very responsive on the BabyBelt Discord, and he helped me narrow it down to these linear bearings. To bolt down the X-axis, I had to grip their nuts from behind at an awkward angle, as one does. So the rails went askew and it jacked up the friction. That's apparently not compatible with these itty-bitty teeny-weeny NEMA 11 motors. Look how f***ing adorable these motors are. I love them. I'm still showing off the BabyBelt Pro because if you make it yourself, your build will almost certainly run better than mine. Literally the day after I applied the finishing touches, Rob posted version 2, which refines almost every part, including a complete overhaul of the X-axis that makes it far easier to square everything up. And while the instructions are pretty rough, they are not a video, which immediately makes them fine. I really hate video instructions. The truth is, this thing is way simpler than it looks, and I wasted a lot of time squinting at the manual when common sense was screaming the answer in my ear. So yeah, the BabyBelt Pro is not going to be your next daily driver, but it is perfect for what it is. A cheap, fun toy that lets you tinker with an otherwise inaccessible style of printer. I originally meant to feature one more object of interest, and it's something people drove literal days to wait in line just to get a photo with. I'm talking about me! RMRRF was an awesome chance to finally meet some fans and see the awesome projects they're working on in real life. Like this woodblock mountain is actually a functional QR code. I linked up with Grant Posner, aka 3D Musketeers, check out his channel too, and he used a $35,000 3D scanner to capture my every polygon, so the original plan was you would be able to take me home, platonically. We also scanned Christopher, the voice-activated Quagsire, and this Blahai. The results were unfortunately not ready in time for this episode, and I'm not sure if it's going to get its own. No matter what, I'm definitely going to share the results and the process with the fine folks who support me on Patreon. The only reason I can even push pause on the content creation death march long enough to do stuff like RMRRF is because our patrons rule. Every episode I pick and then I thank 3 random supporters in the lab scientist tier, and today the Royal We salutes Alexandru Callan, Michael Mrochek, and Dingle, drinker of Baja Blast. Our extraordinarily generous collaborators include The Suits Ruined Our Fun, Chuck Me Harder Baby, Bitrot, Phil McCaffrey, Turner Zay, Microwave, Schleppy the Schwagster, Zombo DB, The Benevolent Misanthrope, SXP, and Scott Rennie. As always, I've made the permanent parts of the workshop and hidden their names somewhere in an Easter egg. You can find it, I believe in you. Before we thank our lab assistant supporters, I have an unfortunate but necessary announcement. I promise to thank every lab assistant in every episode, but the credits are starting to take so long, viewer retention is dropping to dangerous levels. This is one of the most important metrics in the YouTube algorithm, and if the numbers trend too low, they will stop recommending my videos and effectively kill the channel. This is a privileged problem to have, and it's not one I want to solve, but people only see my videos when an inhuman profit maxing algorithm decides to show them. I decided to compromise. Starting next episode, I am reducing lab assistant credits to less than 10% of the video's runtime by abbreviating long names and skipping random ones I've already thanked multiple times. All lab assistants will always get shown on screen and will always get shouted out at least once. I truly depend on your support and I appreciate all of it, no matter the tier, and if you feel shortchanged for any reason, please DM me for a full refund, no questions asked. This will take effect next video, so for the last time, prepare for the barely abridged, mildly censored director's cut. Our lab assistant supporters include Blammo, Trump Did Nothing Wrong, Jamie, Good Suck, the Q-Node 01, Rinnery, the Cuttlefish, John Loves Jen, Lydia K, probably not 3 raccoons in a trench coat, VPS Data, Burn It, Fork, Travis Hippa, 6A, 6F, 65, 6E75, Rusty Flute, Zanforian, Michael, Karanamon, not a Digimon, The Monk, I think I changed my name to Lost Dryer Socks, Zapf, Haley Kerman, Just Human Garbage, Callsign Carrot, Land Jesus Will Die for Your Sins, Slippy McToof, Quantumly Tingled, Chorns, Acorn, Big Bird, Tommy Wucko's Bump of the Night, Clayton Easley, Matthew Runhart, Danny Devoid of Life, Cameron Ogletree, Trans Rights, Moonkin, The Snow Chow Cabal, Sorceress Emily, Shane Frederick, Dax Dastardly Seek Seth Checks, Varka, the design of my BabyBelt belt, Circle Zero, Zatch, Good Lady Nat Queen of Lemons, Victor of the Great Citrus Wars, Elite Giant, Urgay, Micah, Stop Editing My Patron Name Freedman, Iron Rain, Bryn 6'5" figure Forlorn, Wolf Schulte, Cameron McPherson, Mike Kelly, Nova Ren, LS Swap the World, Brad Cox, Scroto Sagans, Protagonist, Robo Key Mao, Granville Schmidt, Onyx Plague, VK2K TJ, Bill Schooler, Vigelli, Olive Robbins, Martin Titonium, Period Clot, Zach Harvey, Paul Gibbs, Cody, Doom Crew Inc., The Haunted Leahy Water Heater Upstairs, Craft Computing, Bob Dobbington, Noel B. Johnson, Jason, Burn Duck 3, Michael Creamer Jr., Kevin DeGraff, Quality Doggo, Partial Eclipse is a Sharp Pucker Up Brown Eyes, Max Luck is gonna build that lamp. Just look at the picture and build it the same, bro. Colin J. Webb is too optimistic. Agent Maxwell, Travis Pocky, Nuclear 314, Des Baldonado, Spire, Talent Democratic Socialist, and a Pretty Righteous Dude Dash Zack, Jack Moran, SKL, Sticks Like the River Not the Band, Kevin Sumner, Joseph Ribka, Sunburnt Cat, Cliff Henning, yes, Rihanna99, and Urch, Eddie, Bigsy, Steve's Dad, Stormy Design, My Dog is a Bear, Kink Shaming Walrus, Amanishi, DBD, Even Bluetooth Has a Right to Repair, Thunder Chicken, RGB LED, Socks McGox, General Buck Turgidson, Evan Kelly, Kermit the OG Frog, Robert the Bob, Boulder Creek Yard James, not Gems, Incognito, Lord Gary is Displeased, Dennis Kempen, Dale Babby, Powerful CCH, Renaud Bataille, Earth is 3D printed, Google Maps shows the layer lines, Mother of God. Dr. Mrs. the Mirror Man, Mirrors and Mere Mortals, not mermaids, sorry for mismirroring you. Roger Pinkham of the Great Star Theater, Vi Watch, Jiggle My Puffs, Aaron Steers, Timor has had an intervention, is doing much better now, Amir Rakum, Juicy Legend, Drinker of Juicy Legendary Fruits, Robert Breeze, Bradley Carter, Chris Floofy Kitsune, and Azundo, Wielder of Iron, Heater of Shrink, Destroyer of Worlds, Tipper of Waitstaff, Toppler of Jenga, Scratcher of Puppy Tummy, Butterer of Muffin, Roller of the Nat 20, Jammer of Radar, Walker of the J, Chugger of Choo Choo, Wrangler of Pokemans, Bopper of the Field Mouse, and Scourge of Mall Santas across the majority of the eastern seaboard. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the future.